Hey yo, hey, welcome to the Octavia Butler mixtape course. Hey y'all, Dr. Brianna Whiteside, and today we are discussing Butler's parable of we're not discussing parable, nothing. We're discussing, what are we discussing? Dawn, adulthood rights, right? No, not adulthood rights. We're discussing Dawn. Y'all, my mama in town, I've been out with her for the last few days, so my mind is like so many places. So we're discussing Dawn tonight. We're wrapping it up. Next week we begin Butler's adulthood rights. Y'all know what to do. Please tap the screen, get as many likes on here. If you want to hop up here to chat, you know what to do. Hit those two people at the bottom. But yeah, y'all, my mama's in town from Chicago. We see each other once, maybe twice a year on a good year. And I tell you that because I'm going to have to cut this short at 7 o'clock. So we have 1 hour tonight because it's my mama's last night in town. And she let me get away for a little bit to conduct my class. So y'all, it's been a time. We went to Waco, Texas. I don't know if y'all have ever been to Waco, but my mom watches HGTV and she likes Chip and Joanne Gaines. And so we went to Magnolia Market. Thanks for the crown. We went to Magnolia Market down in Waco, and then we toured the castle that they renovated. It was really nice. You was in, Sir Maxim, you was in Waco this weekend? That's insane. That's insane. Yeah. I was in Waco. We drove down, took 2 hours, and, we came on back. But anyway, if y'all want to chat and talk about this book, come on up here. Let's chat and talk about this book. I'm going to read a quick little excerpt from here. I'm very interested in what y'all think. Like, this is probably this is the sci-fi series, right, for Butler. I think Shanandi said that last week, like she realized that she isn't a real sci-fi fan like that. And I get it. Matter of fact, thanks, Shanandi, for the gift that you just sent. But I'm interested in what y'all think about Lilith. What do y'all think about the sterilization that happened in the text, right? Which kind of mirrors the syphilis experiment. The Tuskegee experiment. What do y'all think about the Owen Collie? What do y'all think about the Uloi? I'm very interested. What do you think about this level of Butler's writing, right? We are in an alien universe. And yeah. All right. So since we only got an hour, I want to hear about Lilith. Eric Ebony says not too much on my girl Lilith. All right. Okay, so in Butler, in the interview host, let's see, who conducted this interview? Nick, in 2004, Butler talks about the name, the Xenogenesis trilogy, and where she got it from. In my copy, it is Lilith's Brew, but one of the first publication of the series was like Xenogenesis, right? So that's why when I'm talking about this trilogy, I say Lilith's Brew / Xenogenesis. So the man asks about, let's see, where did he say? He says, in Lilith's Brew, your alien race is non-hierarchical, non-violent, very cooperative, unable to make small distinguishing characteristics based on appearance. It seems you went very much in the opposite direction after Kindred, approaching those themes from a positive angle instead of a negative angle. And this is what Butler says. She says, I was doing something else that I had not seen done. I was writing about an alien species that was xenophilic. And that means having a fondness for foreign people, cultures, or things. So that's what xenophilic means. She says, and when I began working on the novels, I thought xenophilic must be a word. It's a perfectly good word. There must be such a word. But in the dictionaries I had, which were a few years old, I couldn't find it. And I didn't find it until I went to the library and looked in the OED, and that's the Old English Dictionary. And she says, in some of the newer dictionaries out now, well, most of the bigger dictionaries do have it. What I found instead was xenophobic, a fear of strangers, or a xenomaniac, a person who has an unnatural liking for strangers. That's probably because my dictionaries were written in the shadow of the 50s, and xenophobia was rather popular back then. So thought that was fascinating because since this trilogy was originally named Xenogenesis, But in Butler's notes, y'all forgive me on the Substack. I have not been as active on the Substack. I do have more information about this trilogy coming out. My mom in town, I got sidetracked. But in Butler's notes, she does say that this book, Dawn, was supposed to be called Training Ground, right? So that was the initial name of Dawn before she went through a series of changes with her editors to then call it Dawn. But it was supposed to be called Training Ground, and we can see we can see why it was probably called Training Ground, or she was thinking about Training Ground, because there is actually a section of the book called Training Ground, but they're training for something, and we don't see it fully unfold. We do kind of get a hint of it when Nakan tells Lilith that she's impregnated now with Joseph's child without her consent, right? So we can't talk about consent because I think that matters. But that she has been impregnated, and the other people have been sterilized. So I think that those are good things for us to think about and grapple with and talk about, especially as we're thinking about women's bodies today. And another thing I think is important to note for the series, whenever we see like a jungle scene or them in the wild somewhere, and we're going to see a lot more of that in the next two books, do know that Butler did travel to the Amazon to do that type of research to be able to construct those scenes. I have some notes that I'm going to be sharing on the Substack to show when she's in the Amazon, what she's talking about, what she's witnessing. And so she wasn't just traveling to Maryland to do the ethnographic work for Kindred. She actually went to the Amazon to be able to write these scenes for the Xenogenesis trilogy. All right, me and Tina cannot be the only ones up here who got something to say. I would love to hear y'all. I would love to have more people come up here. But Tina, in the meantime, in between time, since you're revisiting the Xenogenesis trilogy, I'm very interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, like I said before, this read of this is kind of like I'm way more critical of Lilith. Before I was like, that's my girl, and she went through all of this and proud black woman kind of thing. And now I'm just like, um, I still feel like I still like her, so I'm not trying to do no disrespect towards her or anything like that. I don't feel negative about her. I'm just like, I don't know if she was as brave as I thought she was, or is she more just beaten down?
Who we talking about, Butler or Lilith?
Lilith.
Yeah.
I just feel like when I first read this trilogy, I thought, Lilith was just, she just was like smart, and, survivor. And I don't know, I just had all these like really high thoughts about her, like I said, 10, 15 years ago. And then now what I feel is like, man, she was like living through trauma, and like I'm not sure if it was like, is it just that she was just beaten down, and she was like, I'm gonna go the route of least, I'm gonna resist to a certain point, but I'm kind of falling off. Like, did you know what I mean? Like, so that was that. So that kind of messed me up a little bit. I was like, I'm feeling different about her and what she's going through. I'm seeing it from a different perspective, not in my early boomer Gen Z kind of way, where I'm like, yeah, you got to survive. You got to take it on the chin. Now I'm all like, oh, well, she needs therapy.
Yeah, like her departing words were like, basically, I'm going to tell them to learn and run. That's all you could do.
Right. So it's just, I think that when I first read it, I just felt like she is somebody who survived this, and that she found a way to be able to make it. And it was like very positive descriptions. And then now I'm more like, okay, yeah, she was definitely manipulated way more than I had thought initially. And it's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This is like my fourth or fifth time reading this. And when I'm teaching this book in the academic classroom, like my lens is totally different. And when I'm rereading it for the TikTok class, I'm like, wait a minute, why am I viewing this differently? Like something isn't right here. This math isn't mathing. And of course, when you read books over and over, you pick up on things that you wouldn't have picked up the first time around because your brain wasn't prepared to see it. But I totally agree with you, Tina. Hey, y'all, can y'all keep liking the live? I need to at least get a piece of gum on this live. Let's get to 20,000 hearts. Ebony Yash, hey.
Oh, what I was trying to say is, this book is scary and it's uncomfortable. And when I was reading it, I felt like I was reading Kindred all over again,
Mm,
because the question that I just kept asking or the thing that I just kept telling myself is that I actually don't know what I would do. And that's the same feeling that I felt when I read Kindred, because Dana was in the antebellum South, like, no, we need to do this, we need to do that, da, da, da. And then she almost died hella times. So that kind of put it into perspective, like, well, what would you really do? Like, if you were put in this crazy scenario, what would you really do?
yeah.
So I didn't really like feel bad or good about Lilith. She
Uh-huh.
just kind of went along to stay alive. And then on top of that, like, sh unlike the people that she woke up, she spent time with the aliens, so she had the proof, whether she could explain it or not. She was telling them, like, no, they're really aliens,
Yeah.
they're really super advanced, like this, and we're really on a ship.
Yeah.
But kind of like in Clay's arc, how the doctor was like, how you just gonna tell me that I have a disease that came from outer space? Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense. So I also understood the people that she woke up when they finally did get to the training ground. Like, they're like, well, this is Earth, bye.
Yeah.
So it was just very, very uncomfortable. But I don't like the Owen Collie. I think that they are, I don't know, I think that they're just weird, like, users. And
Mhm.
like, can we talk about the sex? Can I say that word on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
like, I did not feel like that was consensual. I was like, okay, the aliens are trying to have these freaky ass threesomes. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I it just didn't feel consensual. But by
Yeah.
the time Lilith was trying to wake up the other people, she was already turned out, basically. So it was just it was just very
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and I don't know what to even think about the next book.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you brought up the love making scene or the VR type or the sensory Nakan plugging into the sensory unit or plugging his sensory arm into their bodies, right? Creating these neurological experiences or sensations. And it is an uncomfortable situation because at that moment they're genetically manipulated, right? There is no way that they can ever come together as male and woman again without an Uloi. And so it does take away from the connection, the intimacy. You can have partnership, but you cannot procreate, right? And that's important. And so you should be uncomfortable. You should be uncomfortable because the reason that they did that, and we all know they want to continue to advance their cause and their species, but they need the human genetic makeup in order to do that thing. But as a result of that, they want to ensure that you will never reject us. You, as a matter of fact, you need us in order to create these beings. And these beings, we will begin to see the construct children, and that's what they're going to be called in adulthood, right? The construct children, the humanoid, Oankali, and human mixed children. We'll begin to see those crop up in the next book.
And that was the part that was nefarious to me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
once we found out that, oh, after you connect with the Owen Collie, you're sterile, and you're gonna need an Ulai to reproduce. And the fact that the Ulai could impregnate Lilith. That wasn't her decision. That wasn't something that happened naturally based off of what she was doing. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say the D word, y'all, but they Doro.
Oh no! Don't start. Do not
I'm
start.
not starting, but that's kind of what it is. Like, because they made it so that you can't procreate on your own.
Yeah.
You need them to procreate, and
Right.
they're so far advanced that they're only making the quote unquote the perfect people,
Sure.
or what they would think are the perfect people.
Yeah, I was going to say we can't even say that they're people. This is actually going to be another species, right? We're in a post-human world at this point of in the text. So they're creating the future, right? This mixture, but also y'all think about this because I know Butler was doing a lot of research about genetic mixture and biracial children, and we know that back, in history that a biracial child was looked at as othered, right? It's looked at as forsaking the purity of the white race. It is looked at as a being living between two worlds. They were not widely accepted. They were largely rejected. This is where we get the tragic mulatto figure in African American culture and history. Then we get the octoroons, the quadroons. Like we get this genetic mixture already happening in our world right now. It's not through sterilization, but it is a genetic mixture that's happening. And we see in history that those children were considered the other, the monster, the forbidden body, right? Butler has not pushed us that far, but we do have remnants in history that show us the ways or shows us how humans who have mixed heritage and mixed backgrounds were treated in history and society.
It was illegal.
Yeah.
So your whole I mean, it gets down to this: like you were illegal, you were still in servitude, and that's why they made the law that what made you a
One
free
drop rule.
person was that what made you free is that your mother had to be free. And most of the biracial children that were out there were, from enslavement and Jim Crow and everything else were from black women. So black women instead of white women were the dominant, mother, and therefore that put you in a state of slavery. So
yeah, so you have
the
this
whole attitude about it was just like it was illegal, and it also made you higher priced in terms of how more valuable and a whole lot of other things that happened with that.
Yeah, you have this idea of the one drop rule that comes, after or during enslavement, where if you have one drop of black blood, you're black. But ultimately, to keep a black person enslaved, as Tina is alluding to, we see this explained in the works of Frederick Douglass in the narrative in the life of Frederick Douglass, where he says that if the mother's enslaved, the child is automatically going to be enslaved because generally their fathers were the slave master. So the child follows the condition of the mother to continue the legacy of property in the United States. However, if that child has a white mother, then she is excommunicated from white society because how dare you lay down with the black man? Now we know, as Ida B. Wells has said in her papers, no one believes the threadbare lie that black men are R-ing white women. And she's ran out of the South and they burn up her newspaper office. But what she's saying is your women like our men. Your women like how strong they are due to the labor that they do. They like them, and sometimes they chase them. Sometimes they do chase them, right? And so as a result of this, if a white woman has willfully laid down with a black man and conceived a black child, she's thrown out of society. She is no longer welcome into white society. Thank y'all so much for the gifts. She's no longer welcome into white society. And now let's paint that onto Lilith, right? Look at how the humans are viewing her. Like, you willfully did this. Like when someone asked her, what made you lay down with Nakanj during the fight when his sensory arm was detached? Why did you do that? Like, because one, she's already genetically modified, to be with.
She turned out. Two, she's turned out. Like that's what
She
it
was
is.
groomed. She
Or
was groomed.
attached. Yeah, groomed, that's also another word. Groomed, attached. It also feels it feels very intentional that they put her with Nakanj when Nakanj was a child.
Of course.
Like that was they did
But
that.
also think about how wet nurses got with the child on the plantation when they were children. And they reared them. So you, of course, you're going to continue to have this affection for this child. You're going to continue to care for them because you was with them since they were babies. You nursed them. You seen them through. So of course, of course, as someone is saying in the chat, that's manipulation. You're starting off. Yeah, we need her to keep caring for them. Ebony.
Hi, I want to preface by saying that I do love the book.
Okay.
Dawn and Wild Seed are my two favorite.
Okay.
They're my two favorite Octavia Butler novels. But I think the lesson, or the come out word for this book is consent.
Mm-hmm.
And where is the consent that the humans give for their autonomy and what they want to do with their bodies and their lives? And I said that Lilith was groomed because I feel like even her coming out of isolation, her being placed in a position with the other human male and them allowing him to harm her,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of giving her a you guys are going to help me, or looking towards them for protection, or if you don't work with us, this can happen. And then allowing that bad thing to happen to her and then placing her in the environment where more human males would be.
Yeah.
I think it was just all grooming and having her be more close to the Ankali than she was to the actual humans. And you
Mm-hmm.
kind of see that when the violence broke out and she had heard a voice of the Ankali and she had almost felt at ease and she
Mm-hmm.
spoke back that language to them. She was getting more comfortable with them. And
Mm-hmm.
she was almost like their like golden retriever. She
Mm-hmm.
was like their little pet dog.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, this is why we chose you." But really it was just her obedience.
Mm-hmm.
And you see where Peter and Kurt, they didn't have that obedience.
Mm-hmm.
So they, either died or they lost their ability to go to Earth.
Yeah.
But the whole consent thing, even down to the pregnancy at the end of the book, and that just reminds me of that woman that was on life support, that they kept her on life support
Mm-hmm.
because she was 9 weeks pregnant, and they just removed that baby, that fetus, from her after she was already dead. So it was kind of like removing a fetus during her autopsy because there was no autonomy there. There's no consent for her there, or even the family's consent over their loved ones.
Yeah.
So I just think it brings a big lesson of consent with this book. And
Yeah.
even if men were to read it, because if you think about the men, and the Oli are not males,
Mm-hmm.
but the men kind of feel like they are.
Mm-hmm.
So they almost feel like it's a homophobic, I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
can say that, relationship
Yeah.
if they enjoy the relations. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing. When they first came to the people, they drugged everybody. They roofied everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Go ahead.
with Lilith and Joseph, Nas just immediately pulled them off into Lilith's bedroom, knowing that Joseph he wasn't as drugged as everybody else because he was modified, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he still was of his clear mind. So
Mm-hmm.
he really wasn't able to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then even with that, Nas just kept coercing him. Coercion. I feel like he coerced him.
Yeah. I'm interested, Ebony, because you make some great points here. And so I'm interested in, your take on Lilith. Basically, when she finds out that they leave and they're going to Earth without her, when she's like, you said that I can do this. Like you said that if I did this, I could go. Like, do you think she's complicit in any way? Because she is playing along with them so she can go to Earth. She's under that impression.
She said that, but then she also said that she knew that those humans, those first humans that went, probably would kill her.
Mm-hmm.
She understood that in her mind as well. But she did have that human feeling of, I did everything you said, and I'm still not being rewarded with what you said. In this way, you have lied to me. Because the Oncology, they do a lot of silent treatment. If they don't want to give you an answer, they're silent. But in this, they did say that she would go to Earth, but they didn't necessarily say that she would go to Earth with this first batch. And especially after seeing all the violence that took place afterwards, the other humans feeling towards her and her feelings towards them, it just wasn't going to be a safe thing to do. And I think impregnating her was a way to also keep her back and keep her calm about not getting to go to Earth with that first batch of humans.
Okay, point taken. Yes, you.
I oh,
No. Yes, you were, and then Valerie.
I just wanted to say that I felt like Lilith kind of broke, or she kind of lost herself after she met Paul. Like, I feel, and there was still instances of her saying like, I'm gonna go back to Earth, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna do all these things. But I think that after she had like Paul being her first contact and he did what he did, I think that that kind of scrambled her brain a little bit, because she's like, well, the first human that I'm in contact with attacked me. And the sad thing is that some of us can even understand why Paul attacked her. I'm not justifying it,
Yeah.
but it's like Paul was 14 when they picked him up, and he's been there his whole life, so he's essentially a virgin. And then they put a female human with him. It's almost like the Owen Collie wanted that to happen so they could further groom Lilith and keep her there, or control her better.
Okay. Look, I'm just listening at this one. I have a lot of
I just
thoughts.
I just feel like every little thing that they did was intentional. Even if they tried to be like, "Oh, this was an accident," or "We didn't know," da da da. How? Okay, fine. But you guys have also claimed that you've been studying us for hell years, right? And me and Paul have been up in here for at least 200 years, right?
Right.
So if you guys are so advanced, how did
Mhm.
y'all not know that that was going to happen?
Well, so I think that there's different stages of data collection, right? Like they're able to study the humans in controlled environments, but I think that was the first time that they were able to study a human who had been awake for a majority of his life, and then pairing him with Lilith, another woman. So I think that that was supposed to be a controlled experiment that went out of control. Because even the conch kind of says like, hey, I said it wasn't a good idea, but they thought it was a good idea. I don't think that they're going to dismiss what I said again. Right?
I also wanted to
Okay.
add that the other humans probably thought of her as not an overseer, like on a plantation, you have the overseer,
Mm-hmm.
but like the head of the house, the slaves that were in the house that kind of ran the house. She
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like that. And that part on the battlefield, when she took off all her clothes and laid down with Naj, it was very much, we sick, boss?
Yeah.
Is we sick? And I feel like that's probably what the other humans thought of her. Now, us, the reader, we see both sides and we know the connection that they formed, and that she had just lost Joseph. And now that chemical bond, she did not also want to lose Naj. And she even thought that while she was laying down with him. But thinking in the other human's perspective, that's probably how they felt about her, that she was very much the house in,
Yeah.
and she was taking their side.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, like, I don't know if y'all saw that music video years ago, Janelle Monáe called Queen, and she has Erykah Badu in that video. Well, ultimately, the reason why I'm bringing up that music video is because there is a point where Erykah Badu starts to do this masquerade with this poodle. And in a lot of images from enslavement and during the antebellum time, they did have these black people sitting right near the master's seat, them on their knees, sitting there acting as their dog, acting as their pet of sorts. And so when Erykah Badu is sitting here with this brown dog, she's kind of reclaiming some type of power. The reason why I thought about that is because that's literally what Lilith is doing. Like, yeah, she could be the house Negro, as Ebony pointed out, but she could also be the house pet. right? You'll never be one of them. You'll never have the autonomy they have. You'll never have the control, but you want to be their pet. You want to be one of them, and you'll never be one of them because you feel beneath them, right? So, absolutely, I'm with you. Valerie, hey.
Hi.
Necessarily be mad about being their pet. They could fix
Yes,
everything.
Valerie.
Hi. I usually don't come on to talk because I don't think I'm as like um uh uh as articulate or
Oh,
intelligent
good.
with my takes as you guys. So I like to listen to you guys. But I had some. I love this book, and I usually do not like. I hate aliens so much, but like reading this, I was just so drawn into the world, and as soon as she met world, and as soon as she met Daya. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna slaughter all the names. I'm sorry.
That's his
And
name today.
I was, oh my gosh, I was so fascinated and interested because, like, it was so creative and unique. Like, I was just like, please don't be one of those stereotypical, boring, like, oval-eyed, bug-eyed, like, bald, gray aliens. I cannot stand those kind of aliens. But they were with tentacles and everything. And I was just so drawn into this world and their society and the way their beings, like, her world, like Butler's world building is amazing, and I just kind of wanted to pop in because like I have so many unhinged thoughts that, and it's just like the character limit is just so annoying in chat, and I would probably like fill up the entire chat. I don't want to do that to y'all, but so my unhinged thoughts are kind of like, damn, Butler is a very kinky woman. Cause like I was really intrigued in that threesome going on. Like I would love to participate. I don't know. It was really hot to me. Okay, and I'm saying that I'm sorry. I'm throwing all. I told I said in the chat I'm gonna probably like be the weirdo here, but like I love transgressive and abject art and like and themes and create and stuff like that. So like going there with that, and yes, I'm glad you guys all more better articulated the themes of bodily autonomy and and colonization and the and stuff like that better than because I definitely agree with all that, and I definitely saw like the non-consensual parts that kind of made me uncomfortable and whatnot. But like I don't know. I'm a weirdo. I have like tentacle dildo toys. So like this stuff is like definitely for me and I'm just sitting here like this is like she wrote this in the 80s. She is so ahead of her time. And I love gene editing, genetic engineering, and I love um things like this and I love cloning. So once the printing came in and there was cloning going on, I was like this is I was just so fascinated. Like I literally feel like the Inoculai would have loved me as much as they love Lilith as how like open minded and fascinated I would be. I mean, granted, I'd probably be a little bit more open to everything and be like, hey, don't like lie to me. Just be upfront and tell me what you're doing. Like I'll consent and let you do whatever. Like hell yeah, let me get into some like kinky three-way mental sex with y'all. I don't care. I'm down. But like
But there is some queerness, right? To this,
yes,
right?
and I love that the gender, the more polyamory, the gender and sexuality fluidity, because like I'm also a bisexual trans woman who is poly, but like I'm currently in a monogamous relationship with my partner because he's more monogamous, and I just can't see myself without him. So,
Oh,
but but it's just like I just reading this and realizing that the Anakli threesome is kind of like a prelude to what she with that symbioticness of fledgling too as well. Like she explored that first in Dawn before she explores that in fledgling. And also Butler says ACAP because nobody trusts that Kurt dude. Like, oh, you know, Kurt, blah blah blah. But oh, as soon as Kurt's thing and they popped in saying, oh, he's a cop and everything, and I was like, oh god, a cop. But then, yep, there he goes. Even in fiction, cannot ever trust a cop. Butler says ACAB. Butler says ACAB.
So I'm wondering, and so I think Diane, is that Diane? I think Diana said there was no consent. Was there consent? I feel like there may have been some leading there to get them to lay down together, but they were aware. Were they not aware? I don't remember that part.
I think that they
Were drugged. They were drugged. They were roofied.
At that point?
Yeah, when they first
Initial encounter. And then after that initial encounter, just like Joseph said, they could jar that stuff up and sell it as a drug. They were hooked then. They had their first hit.
Oh, I see. Got it. Okay.
And they did that, and when they come together, they did some gene manipulation, but then when they finally come together, they're doing it. I mean, like they are doing the gene manipulation that makes it so that you can't touch each other and all the rest of it. The other thing that was, for me, that was really powerful about that scene and that it disturbed me was like they were frantic to come into that room. So like when it was time for them to come through, they was like, "We coming."
Yeah, they're coming.
And we coming, and like they were willing to risk her life because they knew these people they knew that they could be somewhat violent. And they came and they wanted them to feel like whatever it is. So it's not just that they make them feel good. Whatever it is that they're getting from that is a high for them too.
Yeah. And
it's a big high.
Don't forget that Nakanj literally says in the text that they wouldn't have been able to reach that level of euphoria without it, right? Joseph can feel what Lilith is feeling. Lilith can feel what Joseph is feeling. And they reach this euphoric state together, but they wouldn't have been able to do it if he was not involved in their neurological systems. So Maxim, hey.
Hey, as always, I'm at the gym right now, but I stepped outside because I could not get this out of my head. Every single series that we've read that Octavia Butler has written and Kindred, I feel like they all deal with this idea of like a lost cause. Like, Dana through all of Kindred is like, I can fix him. At the end, you cannot fix him. In Wild Seed, oh God, I forgot her name, but the main... Yeah, exactly. Anyanwu tries to beat Doro. At the end, she learns lost cause. I can't beat him. I guess later on, Mary defeats him. But and then in Parable of the Talents, I kind of feel like all these humans are determined to go out to space and start a new society. But we know, and Lauren knows, like it's kind of a lost cause that they're probably going to die. And I just wonder, and then in this one, I feel it's the same thing. We see the entire book, both Lilith determined, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna escape from the Owen Kali. In the end, it's proven like she is artificially inseminated without her consent, and also the humans are determined, like we're on Earth. Also, they are proven wrong. It's a lost cause. They're actually on a ship. So, like, I wonder if Butler is just trying to get this message through that, like, I don't know, sometimes we it's maybe work smarter, not harder. Like, it's just like there are some forces in this world that have so much control that we think we can defeat, but we can't. But I also feel like that can't just be the message, because that is too depressing of a message. I don't know. I feel like she's also saying something else. Like maybe she's saying to continue to fight back, it's still worth it, or something, or maybe just to overthrow the system altogether. But that's kind of just something I've picked up in pretty much every book we've read. And also, secondly, I definitely, like you mentioned earlier, the Tuskegee experiment, that's exactly what came to my mind as well. And with the Owen Kali, basically giving the humans such a dopamine high, it felt like it was like, putting drugs in the community, and now you can't live without them, and now we can control you, and that's exactly what I thought too. So yeah. Okay, now I'm gonna go back on the treadmill. Bye. Okay,
go back on the treadmill. So there's one point that you brought up, like, is Butler trying to say something else? And I think that ultimately she's in conversation. I don't know if you all have ever read Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man, but there's this point that I'm trying to pull up the excerpt, but there's this point where the grandfather is on his deathbed, and he's giving advice to the grandson. And what he says, and I think this is just a snippet of it, It says, son, after I'm gone, I want you to keep up the good fight. I never told you, but our life is a war, and I've been a traitor all my born days, a spy in the enemy's country ever since I gave up my gun back in the Reconstruction. Live, and here's the advice. Live with your head in the lion's mouth. I want you to overcome them with yeses, undermine them with grins, agree them to death and destruction. Let them swallow you till they vomit or bust wide open. And that advice is kind of the advice that also Paul Laurence Dunbar kind of points to in the poem We Wear the Mask, right? Mask it. Infiltrate their community. Learn all you can. Overcome them with all of these things. Play the game, kind of like Samuel L. Jackson was saying when Kendrick Lamar had done, y'all know, the halftime show. Do all this stuff, and then before they know it, they're going to be infiltrated, and there's nothing they can do about it. And I think that may be some of the advice that Butler is given, especially since we've already journeyed through this almost through her entire world, right? We've gone from the patternist series to the parable series, and now we're in this futuristic society where we're in space. They're struggling. You're going to have to at some point go alone to get alone, but you're going to have to play from the inside out. You can't play from the outside in. You have to play the game from the inside out. And I think that's why Lilith was so resolved to say, hey, I'm going to tell them to learn and run. Like, I already know what this is going to be. She's not human, right? She's been genetically tampered with, not only just in the way that the humans who were awakened were tampered with. Like, she is more Oankali than not. Like, they gave her a lot of, she can open the doors, right? On the wall. She can do so many things that the others cannot do. So she is more Oankali than not. She may be just she's genetically mixed, but she's physically human. I think that's what it is. And so that's why she's Lilith. She is the mother figure. Shanandi, hey.
Hi. So I know last week I was having a difficult time with a text. It stayed difficult. I definitely can concur with what Yash was saying about just the immense discomfort for me with the feelings of helplessness and just lack of consent and the feelings of coercion and manipulation that I felt throughout reading this book. And then as I got to the end, towards the end, and Nikaj had gotten hurt, and Lilith was, she did what she did to help it heal. As it was describing the process to her, it just reminded me of how, another way that Black women's bodies are and Black women's bodies are used for for healing purposes, with or without our consent. This was with her consent, but it just reminded me of the how, as it was describing the process, it just reminded me of the HeLa cells. As it was talking about your body causes some of its cells. Oh, my Kindle just died. Hold on. Your body causes some of its cells to revert to an embryonic stage. It can awaken genes that most humans never use. And it just went on to talk about how your body showed its body how to awaken some cells and stimulate growth of cell that it would not normally regenerate. It was just reminded me so much of the HeLa cells that Henrietta Lacks, without her consent and without any kind of compensation, gave to science that are still being used today, the immortal cells. So this book was a hard read for more than one reasons.
Yeah.
But this particular part really just hit me in the chest about just the HeLa cells.
And I'm so glad you brought up the HeLa cells, because as Butler was doing cancer research, I know I shared some of the images from her notes in the Substack, but when I'm looking at my typewritten notes, she's studying cancer for both the Clay's Arc, but as well as here, and under the cancer research, she talks about HeLa being adaptability or adaptable even with other species, right? So she has a ton of notes on the HeLa cells, how they're immortal, how people are using them today. And so I'm grateful that you brought that up, because that was at the forefront of her mind as she was thinking about a race of people who can become immortal. And they can only become immortal in the same way that the HeLa cells have been done that way throughout the years. So yeah, I get it. Okay, we got.
I wanted to circle around one point. I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to circle back to one thing about the polyamorous um, of their relationship that is not just between one and one, but we talked about the threesome and how it's three, but it's also the male and female of the Ankali. So it's really five.
Yes.
It's the male and female Ankali. It's the Oli, and then it's also the male and female human. Because we can see at the end of the book when Naj told her that the child that she's carrying had genes from both couples, from the male and female Ankali, and then also from her and Joseph. And then you can see even the polyness of their relationship with Jean, when I believe it was Peter was killed, and Jean was, feeling lonely, and she was feeling all these feelings, and the male and female Ankali came to her. So they all have this kind of relationship together. They become a certain family.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I literally have, like, in my notes, 5 parents here written upside down. But also, let's remember that they have siblings coming out at the same time, right? There's a baby in Lilith's body, and there's a baby in Aja's body. And when the Khan just kind of explaining what's going to happen, they're going to look the same until metamorphosis, right? Until it's time for them to hit what's metamorphosis in this text is puberty. Until they hit puberty age, they're going to look the same. And then once they hit puberty age, they're going to look drastically different. This is when those tentacles will start coming out, and they will just look like different, but they will all have 5 parents. So we're dealing with construct children. And as promised, the Ankali, they are traders. So they did take a lot. Now, y'all don't hear what I ain't saying. They did take a lot. However, they're saying that they're moderating as a result of this mixture between them and the humans. They're going to moderate the hierarchical problems, and he says that you will lessen our physical limitations. So there is some type of trade-off. They are gene traders. They're not just takers, though they take a lot, but they are trading certain things. So they're going to help with inclusivity, I guess we can call that. I don't know if we want to accept that or not, but they do give them something. And as he says, that our children won't destroy themselves in war. And if they need to regrow a limb or change themselves in some other way, they'll be able to do it. And there will be other benefits.
Yeah, but who asked them? So that's why I'm sorry. Who asked them? I mean, when you say the word trading in that sense, it seems like somebody came to the table and they were willing to negotiate. There wasn't a, you know what, I don't want to have any more war. I want to be able to do whatever else, unless I'm willing to do this. They made the decision. Like that, one of the things that I really find disturbing, not just the consent, it's like there is no value in saying, you know what, we can make you stronger as humans and just human. As opposed to I need to mix with all this and I need to do all these other things, because all the things that they're doing literally benefits them. You might get some benefit from it, maybe, but really it's benefits just them.
So remember, we've seen this situation before in Survivor, right? And Butler's critique was the missionaries were so rigid that they would not conform. They would not grow. And her critique of them was humans were too rigid that they could not survive. Therefore, we see the war. They did not want to mix with the Kong people, right? And now we see this same scenario here. And I think that one reason why I brought up Survivor is because it's the human image. Lilith is tied to the human image. They won't be human. They won't be human. And he's like, cut it out, right? We're evolving. Stop saying that. Stop being married to this image. This is the same way. And I'm not making an excuse for it. This is the same way that people looked at biracial children as non-humans, as subhuman. Black folks were already subhuman in the eyes of white society. But now you have these children who are mixed race, and some of them can pass Some of them will become the blue vein societies. Some of them would just be privileged to work in the house. They're still an abomination, right? Quote unquote. And so I'm totally with you, Tina. But she's trying to ask us, at what point will we resist evolution? I don't know.
I get it, and it would have been interesting. I think in the books, maybe something I can't remember all the books.
Yeah.
But it's just at this point, it just seems like they're supposed to be so logical in thinking that it's not logical, and that there is like they missed a lot of the elements of what is human. She showed she did a really good job of showing how violent or how emotional or helpful or whatever humans can be when they are afraid. She did that, but it became really clear that they did not understand humans and dismissed it. Like they dismissed their anxiety. They dismissed whatever it was they didn't agree with without ever saying this has worth or let's try to understand it. Like the small thing of she begged them, let them see that we are on a ship. They need to know it. I can't, if I just tell them, they're not going to believe. She said it over and over and over again, and they rejected that. They completely rejected it. And at the end, after people then died and they then ran away and did all of this craziness, they're like, oh yeah, I guess we should have let them know that they were actually on a ship. It's just,
I agree.
like dismissal stuff was just like,
I'm not
God
sure
was
if they
crazy.
missed it. I'm not sure if they missed it or they felt above it. They
That's
felt
Yeah.
superior.
Yeah.
Because the Oncali, they seem to be nomadic predators,
Yeah.
meaning that they go from galaxy to galaxy and meet species to species and prey upon them and take the best of their genes and add to the best of the other species' genes and evolve. So they're creating not a master race, but a master species. And I say that as predatory because the humans, when you compare them to the Oncali, are very much not as evolved, not as smart. Their research, we have not figured out how to beat cancer, and we look at cancer negatively, while they looked at it as a gift. And the Oli were excited about cancer. And really, that's how Naj regenerated his arm. And that's the only physical limitation that I could see them talking about that they gain from humans in the trade is being able to regenerate themselves. So that's one more benefit that they have. But I think that they just felt above.
And I think that, and I agree with you, right? That's a valid point. But we also should think about their positioning, right? You're the first control group. You're the first one. So we're going to have to learn from the experiment gone wrong, right? So we're above you. We know more than you. And don't forget that in the beginning of the book, they say, like, you all have a talent for death. Like, you want it. And it's so much death inside of you all's bodies that you're willing to destroy yourselves. And then also humans are struggling with the human contradiction, right? Hierarchy and intelligence, they can't coexist. One is going to win, and it is going to be your hierarchical nature over your intelligence because according to Butler, intellectualism is relatively new compared to hierarchy. And so even the humans are like, no, we're above this. Like Lilith, she's still fighting. They're not human. We're above it. The Oankali, no, you not. Right? You're not above it. You're going to do what we say. But I think that when we see them awaken the next group, because, he told her, hey, you stop teaching them. They start learning slower. We're going to go to the next batch, right? Because not only do they have the original humans, they have print memories of them, right? And so they can create print memories. And remember, when he impregnates her with Joseph's child, he says, I needed the sperm from Joseph. I could not do it with the print memory. I could not recreate it. I could not make you that kin to him or to this child because you're going to have a girl. I could not make you that kin out of a print memory. So I needed the actual egg and the sperm in order to do it. So whether humans do it willingly or not, they can create a race of humans to do it. We're going to see how that works out in the next few books. I don't want to ruin it for anyone who does it, but Ebony, point taken, they were superior. Just like the Cone in Survival were superior. I hate to say it, like Doro was superior in a way. Yeah, I don't have to do this. I don't have to play by your rules.
It's the might makes right of it all that just is it. It hurts.
What did
You
you
know,
call it?
might makes right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's so hard to accept, and it's something that as a person, I struggle with even today with just how even and I don't want to get political, but it's almost like, well, we won or I won, so we get to dictate
Mm-hmm.
your life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very demoralizing place to be, and it's so the humans really don't have a chance. They don't stand a chance.
Not if they want to procreate.
Not
No.
if they want, right.
Yeah.
Not if they want to survive, really, because they depend on their own collie for everything, because they've literally been kidnapped, put on a spaceship in an alien world, and told this is now your existence. We're stronger, we're faster, we have more resources. So you do what we say or you die. It's
Well, not the ones they're freeing now, right? They're going back to Earth, allegedly.
right, but I mean, hopefully whatever the thing that repels them from each other will wear off, as the Onkali said.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll still be able to procreate, but yeah, humans really don't stand a chance in this universe.
But we wanted to be with Lauren.
Yes, we do.
That's
And
Well,
one of my
Lauren's a
things I wanted
girl,
to ask,
so
well,
one
what
of my
I
things I
find,
wanted to ask was, what is the deal with her, with Butler, with the trope where she's always got some old a man? I mean, it's like
old
every
in
book
this
the
one?
guy that there is always
Joseph was
like
old.
Joseph.
How
He was
old?
40 and Lilith was in her 20s.
But he was 40. Well, she was older, technically.
No, they still. I mean, that's still an age
I mean, they
gap.
stopped the aging, but she was older.
But she
Yeah,
was in suspension. That don't count. She was asleep.
Yo, you
Wait,
think
wait,
no,
wait, wait.
I mean,
But
I'm like, what is it with? I mean, seriously, like we have to. Maybe there's some research of what her, maybe from her personal situation or whatever else, that there's always this 20-some-year-old woman, 19, 20-some-year-old woman with some 40, 50-year-old man.
hypergamous relationship?
I don't know. Maybe that's a fantasy of her Butler. She puts this in, like that's Octavia's type, is Sir Maximus say or something. Because like, my goodness gracious, every time. I mean,
wait a
like, and
minute,
then this
y'all.
Then
dude is
her
like short.
meeting Nakaj as a child and then becoming his mate later.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I ain't got
Wait,
nothing to say.
guys.
I ain't got
Before we get to the tea, I just have one thought that is burning in my mind.
Okay.
Butler keeps repeatedly writing in these books that humans are hierarchical, and that is our
Your
major
fault.
flaw, right? But every other species that she writes that has that critique also has a hierarchy.
Hmm.
The
But they
cone,
say they're not hierarchical.
but yeah, like the
Yeah.
cone had a hierarchy.
Yeah.
The Owen Collie have a hierarchy, and they're using their strengths and their intelligence and their whatever to kind of colonize humans. So it's difficult for me to like get with that point with Butler, because I'm like, every other group that you write about follows the same patterns.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say. Let's go to the T. Why do she like age gap relationships? And why, when the relationship is good, somebody got to die?
We ain't got time to go for the tea. My mama in town. I gotta go take my mama to dinner. We ain't got time. Any closing thoughts? But we can go over that next week though, because I'm full time next week. We can go over that since we will be in the first half of adulthood rights, and we'll see some things. But we can talk about that. I think someone had put in the chat, said that those age gap relationships were normalized in the 80s. I don't know. I was born in 89, but maybe they were. Any closing thoughts? We good? We straight? All
Sir
right.
Maxim said that we need a T stream, and I agree.
Look, we're gonna have to do it on the Substack, like after dark, after chat. But I mean, it could. V, and I don't want to make this assumption. Like, we already know that Butler was kind of crushing on her editor, and I'm not even sure the age gap relationship between Harlan Ellison and Butler. But that could be a thing. I don't know. Yeah, we can speculate all we want to.
My question, okay, another question for you.
Okay.
Did Butler have a relationship with her dad, or
Her
did she
dad
have
died when
daddy
she
issues?
was a baby.
Oh, so she had.
And also, she was supposed to have siblings, but they passed as well. She was the only surviving child of her mother.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So you can imagine if her mother had lost so many children, how sheltered Butler could potentially be, right? And as a result of not having, siblings live or come full term, and so that could add to some of her hermit nature, her isolative tendencies. So yeah, she's the only child. Her pop.
In Kindred, when the wife kept having children and they all died, and only Rufus survived.
Yeah, and the mother, Margaret Whalen, is like a hovering parent. She's overbearing at times, so absolutely. Shanani, did you have something you want to end with?
And I'm
All
good.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the hearts and the gifts. We're in adulthood rights next week. The stopping point is on the Substack, y'all. And I will see y'all next week. I gotta take my mama to dinner before she go back to
Have a
Chicago.
good evening.
All right, y'all.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.